Peace, family. You know, a lot of my videos, I ask, is this country getting better or is it getting worse? Watch this.
Welcome back. In less than an hour, Alabama's Attorney General is set to hold a press conference to address the controversial execution of convicted murderer Kenneth Smith. His death row execution was a first of its kind in the U.S. using nitrogen gas. And this was the state's second attempt to execute Smith after a failed lethal injection in 2022. It also marked the first time that a new execution method has been used here in the U.S. in more than 4 decades. And according to media witnesses, among the 58-year-old's final words, quote, "Tonight, Alabama caused humanity to take a step backward." And
You know, whenever I do my videos, people always try to cherry pick my meaning. Now, when I say there's no crime that a person can commit that you should be able to experiment on how to execute them or even make that decision, somebody's going to come up and say that, well, there's one crime. They'll make up something. But the fact of the matter is this. Here y'all trying to experiment justice on someone in execution. This is your second attempt to kill this man. How do you do that? After you tried to kill him the first time and it didn't work, how are you allowed to go back and try it again? What if this one didn't work? How long would you have kept this person in this room inhaling this gas before y'all gave up? So but you know, let's just continue watching this.
NBC's Emily Aketa has more for us. Emily?
Hey there, this controversial and untested method was used in place of lethal injection. Smith's legal team argued it may lead to pain and suffering in those last-minute legal battles, but the state says the execution proceeded as planned. Overnight, an unprecedented execution going forward in Alabama. The state performing the country's first ever nitrogen gas execution on convicted killer Kenneth Smith. Officials saying the execution began at 7:53 p.m. local time, and Smith was pronounced dead at 8:25. They added the nitrogen flowed for about 15 minutes and that Smith had labored breathing.
He struggled against his restraints a little bit, but there's some involuntary movement and some agonal breathing, so that was all expected.
The corrections commissioner saying he appeared to be holding his breath as long as he could. The 58-year-old was convicted for the 1988 murder-for-hire killing of Elizabeth Sennett. He had been in prison for 35 years. Smith was scheduled to die in November 2022, but the attempt at lethal injection didn't work. Before the execution, the Supreme Court rejected another last-ditch effort from Smith's legal team to stop it, arguing it could lead to prolonged pain and suffering. Those state officials have testified in court that nitrogen gas is painless and humane. According to media witnesses inside the chamber, Smith, quote, shook and writhed for about 2 minutes on a gurney, followed by several minutes of deep breaths. Smith's spiritual advisor, Reverend Jeff Hood, witnessed the execution.
And we also saw correction officials in the room who were visibly surprised at how bad this thing went.
Victim Elizabeth Sennett's family reflecting on the impact of Smith's crime as they look towards closure after years of loss.
Kenneth Smith made some bad decisions 35 years ago, and his debt was paid tonight.
And NBC News has reached out to the Alabama Department of Corrections for more information on the reaction from witnesses, but we have not heard back. State officials have said Smith's response to the gas was part of the known side effects and what they were expecting.
You know, there's so much wrong with this execution. It's not even funny. Yes, this man should be punished for his crimes. He took a life. It is not our position to decide who deserved to live, who deserved to die. That's not our decision. But, you know, one thing a couple of things that bother me about this is the fact that the man that got executed, his final plea that this is going to set humanity back a step or two. For you to experiment on executing somebody, I wouldn't think humanity took a step back nowhere. They've been right where they've always been. Brutal, inhumane, insensitive. And to sit and to have the people sit there and watch this. How do you make these people better? By sitting here watching a man that killed your child. How do you get better off of that? You know, there is no perfect solution for this. Okay, let's make that clear. You're going to have the two different stories come out of this. You can have stories for the victim. You're going to have a story for this guy's family. They're going to tell two different versions. You know, this man has served 35 years in prison for murder. Now, is that enough? I don't think so. He should have spent the rest of his life in prison. And if you're going to execute him in the means that just end his life. You shouldn't have to house a criminal 35 years and then execute him. If you know that's just punishment, then just go and get it out the way. What are you spending on tax dollars to feed this guy, house this guy for 35 years? If you're going to kill him, just go ahead and kill him. Then you have the victims of the family. They're going to say this punishment wasn't enough. This guy, the father, husband, whoever this guy was, he's going to wish that this guy suffered more. Because now you're putting emotions into this thing. It's personal for you now. So again, how do you get better knowing that this guy died and sitting there watching him? How do you experiment on people like this? If humanity had advanced beyond its brutal era, then tell me, how do you experiment on executing somebody and watch his family and watch the victim's family sit there and witness this? Humanity ain't took no steps backward. They right where they were 500 years ago. This is ridiculous.